Welcome to VidZet, your home for careful consideration of our common concerns. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. This morning, I responded to a tweet with a very simple little comment, and my phone just exploded. It has been chirping for hours now, and I go, wow, are people that concerned about diet? Must be. You'll recall a few months ago I did a piece titled "Your Government is Out to Kill You." And in that piece I pointed everyone to Dr. Jason Fung. Now Dr. Fung is the kidney doctor in Toronto who runs a diabetes and weight loss clinic. He has cured over 1,000 people of type 2 diabetes and hypertension. And along the way he has published a blog at www.intensivedietarymanagement.com. This guy is absolutely wonderful in the things he's talking about, and the key thing is he actually looks at the science. Now, before I go any farther, I want to point out there are 3 books that you really need to get and look at. The first one is Dr. Fung's first book titled The Obesity Code. The second one is his second book titled The Diabetes Code. And the third one is a book by Nina Teakoltz titled The Big Fat Surprise. These should be in everyone's library. And let me run the simple story before you. In the video I did before, I started the story of our dietary requirements with the McGovern Committee in the 1970s. It turns out it goes a lot further back than that. It even goes back to about 1900. I won't bore you with all of the details, but in essence what's happened is that we had a gentleman named Ansel Keys who published the 7 countries study. Now his study was supposedly telling us, oh my goodness, we've been eating wrong. The rise in heart disease and everything else that we see as a result of us eating way too much fat. Well, it turns out that commercial farming since 1900 did allow us to eat higher amounts of protein and fat. But he went out and said it's got to be too much fat, therefore we need to go low fat, we need to go high carb. So he publishes what's called the 7 countries study. You know why it's called 7 countries? Because he threw out the 14 countries that didn't agree with him. That's not called science. That's called propaganda. He was on a mission. And anytime anybody published a paper that said, there's a little question, he would come running back with this 20 or 30 page rebuttal, and the journal would publish it, and pretty soon people quit publishing studies that showed he was wrong. Well, it turns out he was dead wrong. And the reason we have so much diabetes in this country is people are eating carbs. Now I want to run through the science for you once again, very, very simply. We know about a hormone called insulin, and most of us think about it as a hormone that's used to treat high blood sugar in diabetics. And that's true. But that's not the biological purpose of insulin. Insulin's biological purpose is to store fat. So if you look at a type 1 diabetic, these are the kids who grow up with an insulin that just basically doesn't, or a pancreas that just basically doesn't make insulin. They're skinny as a rail. You put them on insulin, they start to put on a little bit of fat. They feel better. Well, let's look at how sugar and insulin operate in non-diabetics. You take someone who is nice and trim and you start feeding them a lot of carbs. What happens? Every time they eat carbs, their insulin goes up. Well, you got a lot of sugar in the blood. It says, let's go store that as fat for later use. When your sugar comes back down, your insulin comes back down. So anytime your insulin level is up, you are in store fat mode. And the things that raise your insulin level are carbs and sweetness. Notice I said sweetness, not sugar. It turns out that all of our artificial sweeteners stimulate what's called the TNM5 receptor in the tongue so that it makes you think it's sweet. That TNM5 receptor is also in the pancreas, which means you drink that Diet Coke and out comes insulin. And now you are in store fat mode. When are you in burn fat mode? When you have low insulin. And that happens while you're sleeping. So while you're sleeping, insulin has come down because your sugar has come down. Now you're burning fat. You are losing weight while you sleep. What is the answer to lose weight? Very simple. Don't eat. Well, most of us aren't going to not eat at all. As a matter of fact, when I'm done recording this, I'm going to go get lunch. But it's possible to go a long time. One gentleman in England went 384 days without eating any solid food. He had water and vitamins. The docs monitored him. He did wonderfully, and he tells people he never felt better than when he was fasting. He dropped from 400 odd pounds down to 170. Good result. Now, I'm not saying you need to do that, but let's suppose you do like I do. I eat supper, then the next time I eat is lunch. I fasted for 18 hours. It's no big deal. I have my Black Rifle coffee in the morning, and I'm off for the morning. And we've talked about all the good things coffee does for you, so, I'm healthy there. Then at lunch, I will typically eat a hamburger patty with some cheese on it, maybe a little guacamole on top of that, and I'll have a pickle. All of these things are designed to give me enough nutrition with a very, very small amount of sugar, if any sugar. Typically, no sugar at all. I won't have any carbs until supper. Now, I don't eat bread. I don't eat pasta. Oh yeah, those are the things which you might as well plug an IV in with sugar, because the highly ground flour has taken away the fiber from around the wheat granules, and instantly that starch is accessible. If you eat a stone ground wheat, well, it's still granules. You have to digest the fiber in order to get to the sugar, so your insulin doesn't come up as much because your sugar hasn't gone up as much. Bottom line is this: God designed us to eat with intermittent fasting, low carb, high fat. Remember, in the parable of the prodigal son, when they came back, what was the meal at the party? The fatted calf. Fat is good for you. Now everybody goes, oh my goodness, it's going to kill you, it's going to give you cholesterol. No. First of all, there's two kinds of fats. You have polyunsaturated, which is your vegetable oils. If you go into a restaurant, they've got grease traps. You see all the crud that collects on the grease traps from the polyunsaturated fats. If you cook with butter, lard, tallow, suet, palm oil, you don't get that. My popcorn maker doesn't get crudded up now that I make popcorn with avocado oil. It doesn't oxidize as easily. And it turns out polyunsaturated fats are what make the plaque in your arteries and which create the inflammation that ruptures the plaque. They create heart attacks. But if you have saturated fats, your triglycerides actually go down. Your cholesterol goes down. Your HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, goes up, and the LDL goes down. Everything goes in the right direction. Not only that, your saturated fats down-modulate what are called inflammatory cytokines. Those are hormones that cause inflammation. And you have to have inflammation to rupture a plaque to have a heart attack. Do I sense a pattern here? Saturated fat is good for you. So why in the world does the government say exactly the opposite? Can we say commercial farming for wheat? Can we say commercial farming for cane sugar? Can we say commercial farming for beet sugar? Can we say commercial farming for corn flour? All of these groups are subsidized by the government on their farm subsidies, by allowing our food stamp recipients to buy their products, and by the fact that the dietary recommendations promote wheat, corn. They promote fat. And the problem is, once you get fat, you get type 2 diabetes, all of the medicines to help you put you in store fat mode more because they make insulin work better. The bottom line is the only way to go the other direction is intermittent fasting, high fat, low carb diet. And those are what you'll learn about in Dr. Fung's books. That's what you'll learn about at IntensiveDietaryManagement.com. And while you're reading the books, have your Black Rifle coffee. Please follow VidZet at Twitter, like us on Facebook, and support us at Patreon. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Until next time, thank you.